Okay, this is for chapter 10. Now we're going to look at our macroeconomic equilibrium. So our real GDP demanded here is basically going to be what is our aggregate demand column when we're looking at aggregate demand. And aggregate demand, remember, is how much we're going to buy as a nation based on each individual price level. Okay? Our real GDP supplied in the short run, that's going to be our SAS curve, that short run aggregate supply curve. So here, this is our aggregate demand column. This is our short run aggregate supply column. And this long run real GDP supply, that's going to be that LAS curve that's described in the chapter. That's the one that's our potential GDP. Excuse me. The LAS curve is our potential GDP. So to find our macroeconomic equilibrium, okay, that's going to be in the short run. Okay, in the short run, our macroeconomic equilibrium is going to be where our aggregate demand is going to be equal to that SAS curve. Okay, so in this case, our aggregate demand, our quantity of aggregate demand here is 12. Here, this is 12. That is going to be, our price level is going to be 110, but our equilibrium output is going to be real GDP of 12. Okay, so this is our macroeconomic equilibrium in the short run. Let's go ahead and put that in a graph. Okay, so in this, we're going to be looking at price level on this axis. And on this axis, we're going to have our real GDP. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to draw our aggregate demand curve. Here we're going to have our short run aggregate supply curve, the SAS curve. And so where these two curves intersect in the short run is going to give us our short run macroeconomic equilibrium. So in this case, we have a price level of 110 and real GDP of 12. Okay, that's our short run macroeconomic equilibrium. Now we also want to put in here our LAS curve. Okay, remember the LAS curve is our potential GDP. So our potential GDP is also at 12. So our LAS curve is going to look just like this. Okay, so what this is called full employment equilibrium. And it's full employment because real GDP, okay, in this case we turned out to be 12, our real GDP is equal to our potential GDP. Okay, that's full employment. Okay, these two at equilibrium, where these two columns equal, is also the same as this. That's our full employment equilibrium. That's where real GDP, where these two intersect, is equal to potential GDP, where the LAS curve is. So this one is in full employment.